What is up, everyone? It's BigPowner, and today I am going to be going over the Xana modifiers for the Delirium League, what you should be focusing on, what you should be doing, what they mean for your build, and what they mean as far as farming strategy as you go into the league. So we're going to jump right into it. I do want to say one thing real quick. It seems like they're just basically, instead of giving us the big manifesto a week out, which they've always done, they're just kind of giving us a little sprinkle of stuff from, a ways out. And it seems like it's going to be sprinkled to us all the way up until the start. As long as they don't wind up releasing stuff that is going to ruin builds for people, I think that that's totally fine. If they do wind up releasing major changes to skill gems within the last couple days before a league starts, I'm going to give them a big thumbs down on that because that is pretty dickish. Because there are a lot of people that like to have their builds set up. I think that doing the full manifesto a week out gives people enough time to make their plans. Some people like to practice, stuff like that. But if they're going to wind up releasing the day before the league start, major changes to skill gems, I'm going to give them a big thumbs down for that being a douchey move. Anyways, the mods we have Fortune Favors the Brave. We always have that. We have Ambush. Not really a big deal. Um, then we have Abyss. This is a big one. This is going to be the main one that I'm going to be using for early, going into until I get to higher tier maps, like high tier maps, like tier 14. But once I hit like low tier red maps, I'll be running Abyss pretty much every single map, and that will pretty much be what I'm running. And until I hit the higher tier mods, and I'll go over all this stuff and you'll understand what I'm saying. The reason why Abyss is going to be my main focus is for 2 chaos. Just the monsters that it adds to the maps are going to be a total win. On top of that, Abysses, drop us the Stygian Vices. They drop us the um, the jewels that we can put into the Stygian Vices, so that is going to be a really good thing to be farming, especially early, because the Stag Advice is the most popular belt in the game. It is consistently the most popular, so if you get a good drop, one of those drops, that's going to be some cha-ching ching. Anyways, that being said, there's also the smaller chance that you're going to get like two socket abyssal gloves, the or the helm. There's a ghost shroud. Sometimes that's worth a decent chunk of change, but those aren't things that we can really rely on. But it gives you the chance for it. But the main thing is just the monsters it's going to be adding, and the jewel and the Stygian Vice drops are going to be worth it for 2 chaos, just hands down. The next one we have is Bloodlines for 3 chaos. Bloodlines is good. It adds 3 packs, which is nice, and it also adds the bloodline modifier. This is a really good Xana mod, but because we have Abyss for 2 chaos, I don't see myself using this at all. And moving into the other ones, you're gonna understand why. We've got Beyond, which it's I'm pretty much gonna run Abyss until I start running either the 2 end ones, which are going to be Blight, sweet, or Beyond, sweet, super sweet. So I don't see myself using those. Let's go over the rest of them. Domination, 3 extra shrines. It adds some packs kind of randomly. You'll get some extra monsters in there with those, but the shrines are just kind of they're meh. And for 3 chaos, I would rather just run the abyss for 2 chaos. Parandus. We have Parandus this league. Uh, This is a completely useless Xana modifier. Why is that? Because Piranda scarabs are so cheap, so cheap. Pretty much rusted Piranda scarabs are like 1 chaos if people can even sell them for that. They're pretty much every league, and even the gilded ones are usually like 5 chaos or less for most of the league, and it's just not really a desirable thing. And what am I going to do? Am I going to throw Parandus on for 4 chaos? Or even if I want to run Parandus, why wouldn't I just run something else like Abyss for 2 chaos, buy a bunch of Rusted Scarabs, and then for 3 chaos I can run Parandus and Abyss? It just doesn't make sense. It's a useless modifier. And there's just better stuff on the Atlas. Moving on to the better stuff, we have Beyond 5 Chaos. Beyond is always an amazing modifier to have. It is pretty much the most dangerous but the most rewarding as far as adding extra monsters to the map. This is an amazing thing to have for a mapping league. The reason why is the 15% chance to spawn monsters from Beyond. This is like really sweet. This is, I will say, this is the most dangerous map modifier that you can get because some of the spawns that we get from the Beyond are just really dangerous. And when you're playing really beefed up maps, those like Beyond bosses can be like more dangerous than the actual bosses on the map. So that's really going to be something that you add in like really end game type grinding. It's going to be like I'm doing highest tier Delirium, tier 16 maps, fully buffed up Chisel Vault Alk. I can do Awakener 8. I'm running smoothly. I want even more rewards. I'm running Sextants. Time to add the Beyond. Before that, the most expensive one is actually going to be what I'm going to be starting to grind on from like tier 14, tier 15, tier 16 until I get my build to like that super end game state where I'm running, all awakened sextants every single time. I'm chisel vol alking every single tier 16 map, and that's really all I'm doing is tier 16 maps. And I'm running, delirium modifiers and all that good stuff. Up until then, up until I reach that point, I'm going to be running the Blight. And the reason why is because, first of all, I'm going to be playing Ice Shot. Ice Shot's amazing at Blight. And in a lot worse gear, I'm going to be able to complete tier 16 maps consistently than I will be able to run, the hardest buffed up Delirium maps. So Blight is just kind of a no-brainer, and it's a super big advantage for me starting as an ice shot build. And if any of you guys are going to be running a build that is really good at Blight maps, that's going to be a really big advantage for you too. Blight is the most rewarding early on in the league because everyone needs the Blight oils, and it drops a lot of items, which means a lot of chances for upgrades. So obviously, you know, having access to a lot more Blight maps is going to be super beneficial. It is 8 chaos, so that's why I'm saying I'm going to start grinding this once I unlock it and once I'm at least a tier 14 map. I really wouldn't suggest adding it before you're like tier 14 plus. The reason why is because that's when blight maps become the most profitable, because if I'm on a tier 14 map, I'm going to have the chance, depending on my upgrade levels, to get tier 14, tier 15, tier 16, but it's going to guarantee me at least tier 14, which is where I can get my golden oils, which obviously that's the only place that we can get the oils is from the blight maps. One of the reasons why they're the most profitable in the beginning, because normally like this last league, golden oils at the beginning of the league are like 2 exalts, and then as you move into the league, they wind up being like 2 for 1 exalt. So you can see that that profit's going to be on a downsliding scale, and obviously all the items that are dropping are going to be on a downsliding scale. So getting in there and starting to grind blight maps earlier is going to be most profitable. The thing that I will say, most people are going to be like, shit, 8 chaos for blight being added. The thing is blight with the Metamorphosis League, they made it so that it's guaranteed oils or map drop. We had more Blight maps this league than we had in Blight because they added that. Even with only 1 out of every 10 maps having a Blight spawn, we had more Blight maps in Metamorphosis than we did in Blight, which is crazy because now we're going to have Blight for 8 Chaos, which means there's going to be a ton of Blight access to Blight maps. The reason why I'm saying this, the reason why you need to pay attention to this is first of all because based on the average price of those high tier maps, it is going to be beneficial for you to pay the 8 chaos to get the blight encounters, to get the blight maps. If you're not going to be completing them, if you're going to be doing them, adding the blight to sell them, the thing that I would say about that is you need to pay attention to what the market price is, and you need to pay attention to how much you're investing in the modifier and how much you're making off of the modifier. Because since there is going to be a lot more access to Blight maps, if the interest in the community to play Blight maps drops and there's a large influx of maps from people farming and selling them, the prices of those maps are going to go down. So pay attention to that. And my suggestion for this, since you know that there's going to be a lot more Blight maps coming in, if people are farming it for sale, then I'm going to say probably if you're planning on selling the maps, don't be holding on to them for very long because you're going to risk having the prices of them plummet because obviously as the league goes on and more people unlock that modifier, there's going to be more of them coming in. My suggestion is going to be to go ahead and sell those and not risk having, I save up 20 maps and then they drop, 10 chaos in price and now I've, lost 200 chaos or, could be even more. So that's my suggestion for that. I'm going to be focusing on getting to the blight maps unlocked and starting to grind those until I get my build into a really strong place where I'm going to be able to awaken Sextant, Chisel Vault Alk, maxed out Delirium. Obviously, I'm going to be playing as high of maps as I can, but I'm not always going to be running awakened sextants and full buffs, depending on the strength of my build. Because if it's going to be too hard for me to play it, I'm not going to be taking 15 minutes to clear a map, and investing more to do that because my total income will go down. That being said, something that I want to point out, we don't have Nemesis on Xana this time, and if you are going to be farming Awakened Sextants, if you're a mapper, you should be planning on farming with Sextants. And the thing I would like to say and bring to your knowledge is they've added the recipe back for upgrading Sextants. With the changes to Sextants, they changed what our Sextants were with this league. They didn't add the recipe. So there had always been a sextant recipe where you could take 3 of a lower tier one and you could sell it to the vendor and it would give you the next tier. And then, say that's a middle tier, then you could take 3 of those and sell it for the highest tier. They're adding this back for the new sextants in Delirium, which is sweet because if you wind up with a bunch of lower tier sextants and you're not using those anymore, you can upgrade them. The other thing is this will actually drive down the average price that the awakened sextants would be to a lower price because, if everyone's only using awakened sextants and all the lower tiers, you can't upgrade them, then there's just a massive amount of sextants that just aren't being used. So this will make the average price of the awakened sextants cheaper than they would have been. However, sextants are probably going to be a higher value for this league than most previous leagues because anyone who's smart will be using sextants for farming delirium because the way the delirium works is it enhances the entire map when you use the orbs, which means you want to be buffing that map up as much as possible so that you have the most amount of stuff in there to get rewards from. So if you're not planning on using sextants, you should probably now plan to use sextants. That being said, if awakened sextants are crazy expensive, it might be worth it to use low tier sextants just for the extra added monsters. This really can't be said at this point. I will touch more on this once the league is actually running, and I'll let you guys know what it is that I'm doing. But you kind of got to use your head. Is the extra modifiers, if they're crazy expensive, are they really worth it? You got to use your head a little bit on that. But I'll touch on that stuff at those times. But these were just things to pay attention to. The one thing that I wanted to say with that is when you're map crafting, if you've watched my previous videos about farming, the reason why I'm bringing up there being no Nemesis modifier is because one of the most currency generating modifiers on the Awakened Sextants is Nemesis monsters drop 3 extra currency shards. We're not going to have this. We're not going to have the Nemesis modifier on our Atlas for this league, for Delirium, which means if you get that modifier and you haven't been saving maps with that modifier, you're not going to be able to capitalize on those 3 extra currency shards. So when you roll high maps with those modifiers, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to put those aside so that you can capitalize on them when you do wind up rolling that modifier. Of course, we can always take an alt spam till we hit Nemesis and then upgrade it, but then you have a 3-stat crappy map, and that's not really ideal. Do your map crafting, save the ones with Nemesis mods, so that when you do hit that modifier, you'll be able to cash in the most on it. Anyways, I hope that this video has been helpful. I will be having a lot more videos coming out before the season launch. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can before the league launches. If you guys have any questions, if there's anything that you would like to know as far as strategy or anything that's been released that I haven't covered, leave a comment and I will try to cover it before the season's launch. Thanks for watching. Peace.